Hey folks, my name is Waheed. I'm a product engineer at Intercom, and I've been there since about 2014 after I graduated from college. I've been through a few different role changes, as you can imagine, in that time, but probably the most difficult was the senior to staff transition I made. So today, I'll be talking through some of the lessons I learned, and maybe even will be valuable to some of the managers that I know would have snuck over from the uncool part of the conference. But for people that have recently moved into this role or are about to, hopefully there's some takeaways here. So let's go back a bit. It was a rainy Thursday in Dublin in 1984. No, I'm joking. It's a couple of years ago. So I was promoted to staff. It was 2021. Wasn't a great time. I think we were all there. We remember. And during that year, after being promoted, there was a lot of adjusting to life, work, and a new role as well. And about a year into it, I realized I was really miserable. I was irritable, in a bad mood, taking things personally. And that dream of like starting that woodworking shop and throwing the laptop out the window was looking pretty likely actually at that stage. And yeah, this like positive event that I'd worked so hard for was turning into a bit of a nightmare. I wasn't really sure I was going to be able to cope with it. So this sounds like a barrel of laughs, doesn't it? So buckle in for the next 8 minutes. Here we go. Yeah, it turns out a lot of the things I'd gotten for free from previous roles I had to be really deliberate about going forward in my staff role. So yeah, as was the style at the time in 2021, I was only really seeing the people on my new team. I'd never met them in person. The people I used to have lunch with or go for a pint after work and discuss things in similar roles, I wasn't seeing them anymore. And I realized those people and those chats that I was having at lunch or at a pint were actually like the places where I was getting calibration around the role I was doing and validation about how I was doing it. We're working remotely as well. At the time, it felt like a bit of a cheeky ask to put time in someone's calendar just to have a chat or a catch up with them. But luckily, I got over it. Ended up setting up time with people, and then as we chatted through like the things that I was going through selfishly, realized that a lot of them were going through the same thing. And this actually wasn't just even engineering. I actually built up some of the strongest relationships I have now with people in other disciplines and PM and design. They're actually nice people, I found out. So having these conversations with people just like reduced the isolation I was feeling. I wasn't on my own. And from these chats, I started to notice some themes about things that people were feeling or problems that they were facing in the role. So the first one was around monitoring your own impact. When you're working as an engineer at lower levels, you have a peer group that you can look at and pattern match against for like how they're doing things. At StaffPlus roles, how you're measured is different to how it was previously. It's a lot less it's less objective, and the problems that you're tackling are a lot more ambiguous. So myself personally, very self-critical. I have a heckler in my head, even right now. And if I don't get validation and feedback regularly, that heckler becomes a really loud voice in my head. So I needed to start doing things to help me get that validation and that feedback. So the first thing I would do is keep a track, a work log of all the non-quantifiable, valuable stuff I was doing, whether that's mentoring people on my team or contributing to strategic chats at the team or group level. I got really aggressive with requesting feedback from people, like pinging them all the time. And the thing is there, the more frequently you do that, the less of an ask it is, because you're just getting a sentence or two on the most recent thing you did. Then lastly, I have a weekly review with myself. I check in on a Friday. I go through all of the things that I think went well, could have gone better, and then set myself up for the coming week as well. From one of those sessions, I realized as a staff engineer, I was becoming a very loud voice in a room. As your title changes, the dynamic in conversations and chats that you're having with other people changes. You might have a throwaway comment you make about something that somebody will then take as gospel. Or then you realize that actually nobody's pushing back on the things that you're proposing anymore. So this really isn't a healthy place to be in, both for yourself and the people around you. You want to have that forum for discussion. And there's actually a parallel with aviation here, which I think is pretty telling. So basically, a lot of plane crashes can be avoided if the co-pilot speaks out, calls out the pilot on the things they're doing. This is well researched by maybe not so well known researcher. So no offense, but to junior engineers, staff engineers can be grumpy looking, haggard, tired people just dishing out comments on tech docs around like system models and conceptual inconsistencies. Like intimidating figures that just look like they always know everything. But some of the most impressive and helpful StaffPlus engineers I've learned from were the ones that would ask the stupid questions in the room so other people felt empowered to. And that helped us all get to a better shared understanding eventually. So then other ways that I've found that help with this is when I'm making a statement, I give my level of confidence along with that statement. If I'm 80% confident about it, that 20% leaves the door open for other people to give their opinions and jump in. And just because there's no comments on your PR or your tech doc doesn't mean that people fully agree with it. So you need to give forums for people to be able to give you that feedback that mightn't be in a group situation, one-to-ones, but also then questioning your own decisions, being devil's advocate on your own points that you're making, so that people get this environment of debate and discussion, which is helpful for the outcomes that we get. So, as I made space for others, I also realized that there wasn't much space for myself to have fun in the job. I was doing increasing amounts of non-technical work, spending time in strategy meetings and planning, and doing non-real engineering work. I have spent a lot of time with engineers, and I've never really heard many of them say they were excited to do engineering to make Gantt charts. So the work I was doing wasn't natural to me. It took energy, and the previous work I was doing, I would get energy from. And I just kind of accepted that fun wasn't for me anymore. I'd look over at the other engineers, occasionally get up in the attic and take the code editor out and dust it off. But after going a bit deeper, I realized what it was that I was missing from the work I was doing now. And that was exploration and learning. In our industry, things are constantly changing, so we need to stay sharp. Not feeling that way can give me anxiety. And just realizing that it's okay for you to have fun or have work that is both fun and motivating. And then that fun work that you're doing doesn't have to be throwaway. You can feed that back into the stuff that doesn't give you energy, such as strategy and planning, to help define where your team is going. So, you were probably a bit concerned about me at the start. Well, I'm much happier, I'm healthier. I'm actually really enjoying my role at the moment, enough to the point I had the headspace to write this talk and look back on things. So if your role is changing and it might be in a really significant way. If you're deliberate about how you're managing yourself, you can continue or even increase the impact you're having and for those around you. And just to say, go check in on your StaffPlus mates. They're probably a bit lonely and could do with a chat. All right, thanks. Cheers.